All right, welcome to the Smoky podcast. I'm here with Dillon Orlando. Goes to French Woods with me, and what's up, man?
Not much. Just, living in this weird world.
Yeah. So you are doing your finals, right, for college?
Yes. Yeah, I'm currently stuck in the online limbo, which is college.
What year of college are you in?
So, I'm doing one more semester. It's a little odd, but so basically I'm a senior right now. So
Okay.
I'm trying to do my finals and then I'm doing my thesis in the fall, hopefully.
Ay ay ay.
Yeah.
That's the worst time. I feel so bad for like the high school and college seniors. They don't get to do any of the fun parts.
It's so weird, but we've adapted. So now we have like all these online like hangouts that are we honestly hang out more now than we did before. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. What are you studying?
I'm studying theater and performance.
Oh, dope. Uh,
So musical theater and film acting is
so this is what you want to do with your life. You want to be an actor, act and stuff.
yeah, perform, magic is in that vein as well. Um yeah, that's what I love doing and which is why French Woods is awesome.
I know. I'm hoping so much that French Woods is happening.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm teaching my first French Woods class this week online.
Yeah,
So
I'll be there.
Nick and I are gonna figure out something to do.
I had Nick on last week. That
That's
was
awesome.
awesome. He's there, so he's just
Yeah,
hanging out.
I'm kind of jealous to become totally honest. Like that's such a beautiful piece of land that he's on.
Yeah, it's quite nice and it's so open. You don't have to be inside all the time. Where do you live?
So I live at school, really, but currently I'm with my dad in Westchester.
Okay, I'm in
Um,
Riverdale.
oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Um,
still strapped.
yeah, completely trapped. But I miss Oneonta and I miss that place.
Yeah. So what do you? I know you've acted in musicals before. Do you want to continue doing musicals and plays, or do you also want to like do film?
I've been getting into film more as I've like gone through college and in my career. I've done a lot of short films with other friends actually from French Woods, people I met at French Woods who will go to Emerson or go to NYU. I've done short films with them, and I honestly love doing both because they're totally different. Film is so much more relaxed. It's so much more relaxed.
Yeah, I do magic. I don't do any theater, but still, the one take it's a
It's,
little nerve
it's the worst.
wracking.
It's the worst. But
You ever messed up on stage?
so many times,
What's
so many times.
what's been the worst?
Well, so when I was a kid, I was about this was before, so this was pre French Woods. It was I think 2 years after the movie High School Musical came out, and we were putting on the show High School Musical at this other camp I went to, and I was playing Chad at the time. Um, and basically, are you familiar with High School Musical?
Yes, Zac
Yeah, so
Efron
you're
dances
familiar
and best.
with the the scene in the locker room where it's like, "Come on, Troy, the girl doesn't matter."
Yes.
Basically, I like was walking and I was like, "Come on, Troy, the girl doesn't matter," and I fell onto an audience member off the stage. I completely because I was holding a basketball and I didn't know what to do with the basketball, and so the stage was like this, and I just kind of flopped over.
Oh,
And I got up and I kept going, but I felt so bad.
completely wiped out. Oh,
Yeah, that's my earliest fail that I remember. There
you
have
know
been.
8 foot pole.
Do I what?
Do you know the magic trick 8 foot pole?
Not by name, so I'm gonna say no.
It's very much how it sounds. You pull an 8 foot pole out of whatever.
Then yes, yes,
So I
yeah.
pull an 8 foot pole out, and then I don't know what to do with it. So my uncle is standing off stage, so I just hand it to him and keep going. And I was like,
That's
why
great.
did I do that?
No, but that's so funny though. Like that's what I love about live theater, and that's why even going into film, I can't give it up because
Yeah.
the strangest things can happen, and you just have to roll with it, and it's just so much fun.
Uh huh.
I mean, it's nerve wracking and very stressful.
I've noticed I did improv at a different camp that I go to for like a week, and it helped me deal with that stuff so much better.
Improv is one of the greatest tools that any performer, magic, film, they can have in their belt, because it's always used, and it's also used in real life. It's a skill that doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah. And the improv show at French Woods, I was the last one. I was just howling. It was so good.
There, one of my good friends ran troupe this year, Hannah, and she just what they did was just great. It's always great. They always make me laugh so much.
Yeah, it's the randomness of it that just shocks. Is shocking.
Emotional Symphony will always be or what's it called? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Whatever it's called, I know what you're talking about. Where
yeah, it's always gonna be
different noises.
It's always gonna be my favorite bit that they do. It's great. It's always so funny.
So, when you're a part of a production, I want you to talk me through like all of a musical from audition to final performance.
Okay, so it starts with a lot of dread and a lot of, just I hate myself, because you go into the audition room and you see a lot of people that look like you, and you're like, oh, all right. And then, you wind down, you go through the process of callbacks, and then, cast lists usually are sent out by email or called. For me, it's always been email. And so you wait, you learn your lines in advance, and then you go to the first rehearsal. And the first rehearsal is always so much fun because nobody knows what kind of production it's going to be. Because in theater, there are so many professional productions that are also like, you would never know it's professional by going into a rehearsal because of just the amount of wacky stuff that's happening.
So what you're saying is theater nerds never change?
Never change, not once. They will always stay the same. So it's, you introduce yourself to everybody depending on like the vibe of the show. Usually if they're tragedies, they're less fun to work on, which is self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But I was in a show, Hand to God, a few years ago, which is about a satanic sock puppet. And that show was probably the weirdest show I did because I played Jason, and I had to have a sock puppet on my hand most times called Tyrone. And it was a completely separate character.
Oh my God.
I would have to interact with the puppet as, like that. And there are scenes where the puppet bites a character's ear off. And like I have a blood capsule in my hand that I have to, go. And so just like for the wackiness of rehearsals, a bit that happened in rehearsal, we actually added to the show because we were going through and like I reached my hand, I bit off the guy's ear, I threw the ear over there, and his line is my ear, as somebody would say when their ear gets ripped off. And so I yanked the puppet back and the eye bounced off. So he's like going, my ear, and there's blood everywhere. And this puppet in this satanic voice just goes, my eye, and then it's a blackout. Like, it's one of those things that like you can't plan for.
Yeah.
But when it happens,
kind of stuff, I try to include that whenever I get something really good in a performance.
It's great. And that's the other thing, because when I do magic, I mainly do escapes. So it's a lot less it's more suspenseful. It's more keeping the audience on the edge of their seats. So you don't get to have as much fun with it. Like, yeah, it's fun to do, but, once you have your act and once you have your performance, that's it. It can evolve and you can improvise, but it's mainly the building blocks.
It's a good lifestyle to have.
Yeah.
After you taught me, like, the basics of escaping from rope, I had a big spool of maybe, like, 160 feet of rope because I do a lot of rope magic, and I have the people in my bunk would take turns tying me up, and I'd escape.
That's what I love to hear because I think it's the funniest thing, and only at Frenchwoods can that happen.
My counselor got me really well, and I couldn't get out, but I also had a giant pair of scissors hidden in my pocket.
Always have a backup plan. Always have a backup plan.
So I just went to the bathroom. I'm like, I have to use the bathroom.
And you get out, and then, whoa, how did that? They see the rope on the floor. She's like, don't look over there. It's fine. No, that's great. That's, when I went again, before I worked at Frenchwoods, that's the kind of stuff I do with my friends in my bunk. Like the kids that I grew up with, like a lot of the people who were always in my bunk now, are also counselors, like Matt Wexler and I grew up together.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. um, I grew up, Jared, a lot of, actually, it might actually only be Matt and I left. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. That'd be awkward. But it's so fun to hear that kind of stuff still happens.
I'm sorry I veered off. I want to get back to theater.
Okay.
So after like the first few rehearsals, which I'm sure is just like making sure you know your lines, the basic choreography, when you start including props or costumes into it?
So that all really depends on how good your SM is, and your ASM and your prop master, because usually a director will want to get rehearsal props in right away. And so this way, you can work with it, even if it's not the real prop. You have something similar in your hands so that you can start, getting the feel of it. Back to using Hand to God for an example, we didn't have the final puppet with the blood capsules and the teeth. Yeah, it had teeth. We didn't have that until dress. But the whole show, I have to, have this thing on my arm. So I think the first one that we used was a sock, one of my socks actually, because we didn't have I literally was just on there with one shoe off, just using it because we wanted to just get the feel of it. And then we had a practice puppet, I think 2 weeks in. So 2 weeks into the rehearsal, we got a practice one. And then, but it's different for each production because you have a different team working on it. So I think it comes down to how important the props are to the story and how much money you have, because it always comes down to how much money you have.
Just for clarification, stage manager and assistant stage manager is active in ASM. Okay.
Yes, my bad. And yeah, so it really comes down to that. And something that I've learned is your stage manager needs to be your best friend, because your lives hang in their, how do I say that? They control everything. So don't piss off the stage manager. That's the moral of the story. But yeah, and never be late to a call.
No.
I've only ever been late to a call once, because it was ingrained in me at a young age that if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're fired.
I have heard that as well.
Yeah. So that was ingrained in me, and I was only ever late once. And it wasn't a big deal. But because, the crew and the cast knew how seriously I kind of took that and how ingrained that was in me, they gave me so much trouble for that. And they were like, I can't believe this, you're always, boasting about let's like get started and you're late. I was like 5 minutes late. I overslept, but it's those kind of things. And that's why it's important to always, be friends with the people that you're working with.
Yes.
Because I've also worked with people that I'm not friends with, and it's just not as positive an experience.
Especially when you're supposed to have like characters that have synergy, like when you actually like someone, it's easy to pretend like you like them.
I think the first, I forget what show it was. Oh, that's embarrassing. But the first time I actually had to play a love interest with somebody, we hated each other. We hated each other. We hated each other with like a burning passion. And I don't even know why we hated each other, but we did, and that wasn't going to change. So going through the entire production was like, we'd have to kiss, and after we get out there, we'd like gargle with our mouth and be like, just like disgusting. And this was, again, like when I was a lot younger, but it's still those kind of things that you look back on and it's like, wow, did that really happen? Is that really what? Because I have younger cousins who like love to watch plays and stuff, and when you're watching a play, you only see the story. You don't see all of the drama and all of the working towards getting it together. I mean, I don't need to tell you that, but so I love it both. I love it when I have friends, and I love it when I have enemies, because it just makes for a more interesting process.
Yeah. No one's ever tried, none of the enemies have ever tried to like undermine you in any way, right?
Oh, of course they do. But it's all just like part of what you're doing. Sometimes you'll make a choice and it won't go along with what another person said for their character. Usually, if you have a good crew and a good cast, people will just roll with it. Yes, and you roll with what happens. But every once in a while you'll get somebody who says that doesn't work with me. That doesn't.
Right.
So you kind of have to pick your battles and figure out. But always be kind is the biggest thing, because it doesn't take anything to be kind, and it only helps you.
Definitely. What's the coolest venue you've ever performed in?
So when now I'm going way back. I'm like, I promise I'm still working on things. It's just that a lot of my memories are in the past. No, because the past 4 years I've been in college, so it's been less of that. But when I was a kid, I don't know what age, but I grew up in Westchester and Scarsdale. And I remember my mom, actually, I was part of this performing singing group that would go to we were called the Mitzvah Troop, and we would go over to, different elderly homes, and we would sing songs. But it was one year, and there's this thing called the Maccabi Games, which I don't really know what it is. From what I remember the Jewish Olympics, but I don't think that's accurate. So, but that's what it felt like. So I got to go to Madison Square Garden, and me and this group of people, we went on. We were on the jumbotron, and we sang the national anthem.
That's awesome.
And even though I was like 8 or something, it's still the biggest venue I've ever performed at.
I've been to Madison Square Garden once to see a hockey game. That is huge.
And I honestly wish I could have realized how big it was when I was doing it, and took more time to take in the memory.
I feel like if you realized how much of a big deal that was, you might have.
I would have ran away. I would have been like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, just so many people. And was it televised?
I think so. Genuinely, I could always look it up, but I'm not sure. This was a very long time ago. But I think it was televised. Yeah, and it was just such a cool feeling to perform there.
Yeah.
Now I'd love to do it again now that I'm not 8 years old, but I'll figure that out later.
So in the production process, of course, you have practice location. When do you shift to the actual stage?
So sometimes if you're lucky, you can, go back and forth between the rehearsal space and the stage. Usually you'll be in the rehearsal space for most of the process. You only go to the stage when you start tech, or you start, maybe you get 3 rehearsals there before tech starts. But a lot of times I've been fortunate enough to be able to go back and forth between rehearsal spaces. This way, one day we'll be in the rehearsal room, and then we'll go to the stage and put it up and see how it works in the space, and then go back to the rehearsal room and then edit things, because we can't book the space until the show goes up. So it really depends on where you're working in the production company.
How much is there of a transition? Are there a lot of issues? Or
not really. Usually directors do their do the work and make sure that the blocking that you're getting will be able to transfer to the stage. However, they're always sometimes the space is a little smaller than you remember. Sometimes you try to do something and you walk one way and you walk into a wall when you're on the stage, and you try and get around it. Sometimes you fall off the stage and onto an audience member. Yeah. Things happen.
These things happen.
Things happen. There's nothing you can do. But yeah, I really like working in the practice spaces, because it's it's where you meet the cast. It's where you bond with everybody. So I have a lot more memories of the practice rooms than the actual performance spaces.
So, of course, when you get to your performances, there's usually multiple. In between, do you guys have a practice? Do you guys have notes?
I mean, we always get notes. They're usually notes. So far, in most of the production I've been in, there are notes. But they're not really rehearsals. Once the show is up, usually the director lets go of it, and it's now the casts and the stage manager's in charge. Sometimes the director will only come to one show. They'll come to opening, and then they'll be like, okay, and then they'll move on to another project, and then you finish out the run of that show. So yeah, usually the show gets transferred over to the stage manager, and it's yours. It's the cast's now. But you don't go completely rogue. You don't like
Yeah.
just because the director's not there. You don't like completely go rogue because that's when you get fired. So you just keep doing it. You take the notes that you get and you incorporate them, but you don't rehearse again usually.
After a show, will you ever get like referrals or work with the same director because they liked you?
Yes, I love working with the same director. Yeah, I love doing that. And it also is really nice when the director wants to work with you again. So if director has a project coming up, you can be like, hey, so I heard you're doing this like little project, and so what's going on with that? I have a friend, Mark Shaw, who directed Hand to God and directed 12th Night when I was in that. And I love working with him. I did a show last year with him called Pink Mist, which is a show about war. And it focuses on the lives of three soldiers. And it's a really dark piece. It's a movement show, so a lot of it was about dance, and it was all poetry and monologues. It was super dark and super depressing, but it was so much fun, like there are characters that like die brutally, and like we do the movement, and then we get up and we're just laughing, and Mark's like trying to act like a crane, be like, make this pose, make that pose. I'm like, what are you doing, man? We're on the front lines. Like, what are you doing? He's just like, I think it'll look cool. And we're like, So it's nice to work with directors who you've known for a while and that you're friends with. This way you can have like a back and forth. Because usually when I work with the director for the first time, I'm so intimidated. I have to actually work to gain the confidence to suggest things. Because usually I'm just like, I'll do what I'm told. I'll go where you want me to go. I don't want to stir the pot. I just want to do my job, make sure that, I don't ruffle any feathers. But when you get to work with the same director, it's awesome.
That's dope. Let me look at my Google Doc. I forgot all the questions I had memorized. Choreography. That's one thing I've never been a part of in any stage production. How difficult is it? And how long does it take to really form a dance number?
Once again, that depends. I am not the best dancer by any stretch of the word. So I luckily don't have to be in that many dance numbers, but of course, you do have to be in dance numbers. It doesn't take me that long when, the choreo's not that complicated. But when like I just did my ballet final this morning, and I will never show that video to anyone else in my life. That is one of the like worst things I have ever done. Because I'm not a dancer, but being able to.
You just filmed yourself doing ballet?
I had to because of this online environment we're in. So all of my classes and all my dance classes are now like my instructor sends me a video of the choreography, and then I have to recreate it where I am and film it. So, all those videos are just really bad. But it's okay because it's done. And I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I think what's important is even though I'm not the best dancer, I know how to move. And I know how to like use my body in that way. So I don't have to be like, don't get me wrong, having training in dance is very important, but it's important to know how to move this way. Even if you don't have that training, you can still kind of get the choreography. I don't want to say and look like you know what you're doing, because you should always know what you're doing, but
look what you know. Look like what you're doing.
Like you know what you're doing.
Let the more fancy people do all the cool tricks.
They'll be in the front, and I'll meander to the back. I'll be like, oh, I thought you placed me here, right? This is where I'll be. It's for the benefit of everyone. No, I would never say that to a choreographer. I have so much respect for them.
Yeah. Dance is the one thing that is kind of foreign to me in magic. I know there are magicians who use it great, that just like kind of dance around the stage and have like a very smooth style.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, no, me too, man. I can't do that. I like the rigid kind of robotic style with me. Like, it works. It's, you're smooth for a bit, and then it's like, whoa, there's a joke here, and you keep going.
Yeah, I get it. Break it up a little bit. Do you prefer working on musicals or uh, plays?
So as I was growing up, I always thought it was musicals. Now that I'm like pretty much, I finished college, I finished high school, I'm gonna move on and start, living in the city. I think I can genuinely say that it doesn't matter. I It's what the piece is about that really gets to me. Like I love Next to Normal with all my heart, and I would love it even if it wasn't a musical. Just the story of that show is so brilliant. Um, so I think it's all about the subject matter and all about the writing. Because I'm not a writer. I have so much respect for writers. I cannot do what they do. I can read what they do, and I can read it out loud, and I can do it on a stage, but I could never do that. It's I'm in awe of it, honestly.
Just like the when you like notice like the little things in like a song, the like clever little play on words. Like who thinks of these things?
It's so cool, man. It's so cool. I'm like, and even when I see composers like out there, I worked on this show with my friend Nathan Skethway, wrote a musical called Miss Lonely Hearts, and it's just like, how do you do that? How do you get these amazing lines of dialogue and fit them into the lyrics and the rhythm of the song? It's great, and I've known him for a while, and he wasn't. He never told me that he wrote music, and then one day he said, "All right, here's this full-length musical that I wrote," and I'm like, "Can you read music? What? When did you learn this skill?" So it's so cool because he's so talented, and it's just like so many people in the theater world have these hidden talents that you won't know until you know them. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's incredible.
And it's weird too, because like you'll find a writer who can write music and it's natural to them, but like getting on stage, it's like a child in a bright light.
Yeah,
Deer in the headlights. Exactly.
Oh, it's so cool though. It's just
Have you ever seen someone who can like do it all in your mind, like can write, can sing, can dance?
I'm gonna go with Lin-Manuel Miranda for that. I'm gonna say I think he's got it. He can.
He did an AP high school history on YouTube, like mini lecture. Yeah, I tuned in for it. It was very good.
That's so cool. Like,
because he studied the history for Hamilton really well.
Honestly, he has one of the most brilliant minds that I've ever witnessed.
And from what I've seen of him, he does seem kind of like Hamilton. Like, I can see the parallels.
I mean, I've never met Hamilton, but from what I know, I think so. Yeah, I agree with that.
That's probably a good preface. I've never met Hamilton. He could be a jerk.
It's true. It's true. We don't know.
Yeah. So film.
Yes.
Is film part of your studies right now?
It's and it's interesting because the school I'm going to isn't really for film, but I've kind of created an independent study for it. It's hard to do when you're mainly in a theater program, but I've worked it out with my advisors, and so I get to study and make some short films, which is awesome because it's kind of just like an excuse to watch great films and write about them. I wrote, at the beginning of this year, I was talking to my advisor and I was just like, so for my independent study, I think I'm going to watch Taxi Driver. She's like, have you seen Taxi Driver? And I was like, yeah, but I haven't seen it in a while, So I got to do that. I got to write a paper on it. And then, of course, Joker came out. And I'm a giant comic book fan. That's my thing. So that came out. And then I got to work on both of those and just kind of study the filmmaking aspects of it.
I love
it. And there's Joker's so great. It's such a great film.
The spoiler warning for anyone watching this. The reveal that he had made a lot of that stuff up in his head. I It blew my mind.
It was perfect. It was so well executed, and it wasn't afraid to be what it was. You know, it wasn't afraid to. You know, it had the obligatory, you know, Martha Pearl moment, like every Batman does, but just it was an ode to Martin Scorsese. It was so great.
Do you think if this movie if like imagine the Joker as a supervillain didn't exist,
Okay.
and this film was just its own universe, its own thing, which it is, but would it still get the same love and appreciation and like box office success that it got?
So Taxi Driver is very, very similar to Joker in terms of it. It's a troubled man who definitely has like a mental illness, who is just cast aside by society and just trampled on over and over. And I honestly think that those are timeless themes. I don't think they should be timeless themes. I think, you know, people should empathize and not cast people aside. But I think in society, especially today, in today's world, it's like you're always going to find that kind of a story.
Well,
and it's always
competing with each other. We're always trying to get ahead, and sometimes when people can't get ahead, they go under.
Yeah. And honestly, the way that the film portrays that kind of stuff, like I've been, you know, stuck in quarantine. I've been trying to learn how to edit and how to, you know, create that aspect of filmmaking as opposed to just the acting side of it. I have such newfound respect for for storyboard artists and people who plan it. It's because you could tell a story, but when you're talking about film, you have to think in terms of shots. You have to think in terms of who the camera's on and who's listening and how does that advance the story.
Oh, you froze. Oh no. You're oh, you're back.
Woo! Sorry about
that. What did you think of how the MCO wrapped up the whole Infinity Stones debacle?
I liked it. You know, I liked it. It was so that's the thing. When I watch like movies like that versus like other films, those films are so much fun. And they're so well done because they're such an awesome thrill ride. And I love Marvel. I love it so much. I had an Infinity Gauntlet last summer, like with me.
I remember that.
We were gonna do a staff magic show that was Marvel themed, and I was gonna play Loki, and like it was Ricardo was gonna build something and be Iron Man. It was great. We had a whole plan. We wrote it out.
Why did
Nick
that
was
never
gonna be
happen?
Nick Fury. It was great.
Yeah. Now that Loki's alive, he's alive. Do you think we're gonna get like a TV show or like a movie?
We are getting a TV show.
We are.
So what's happening is we saw that moment in Endgame back, you know, when they traveled to the past and he escaped with the space stone. I'm gonna get real nerdy for a minute. So we're getting a show on Disney Plus. It's already filming. Actually, Owen Wilson is in it. I have no idea who he's playing.
Wow.
Wow, exactly. And you know, I have no idea what the plot line's going to be, and I don't really care what the plot line is going to be. I love the character.
Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston is a classically trained actor.
He plays Loki so well.
He plays it like it's a Shakespearean role. Like he hits all those beats. He's so great. And if you watch him, I think there's some clips of him. But when he was back in England working on Shakespeare and stuff, he's just great.
That's
so talented.
Speaking of Disney Plus, Mandalorian, what do you think?
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Mandalorian was so good. It was so good, but it was so good because it was new. Yeah. It wasn't trying to really rely on any old storytelling. It was let's take this setting that we're in and let's tell a new story. Let's have some familiar themes, but overall, let's tell a new story. I enjoyed the sequel, like the films, but overall, I think that they were more concerned with nostalgia and kind of replaying beats
It felt very much like the first three movies. Just
Yeah, it was. Look, say what you will about the prequels, but that went in a totally awesome direction that people, you know, Disney would never do that youngling scene. They would never.
No.
They don't have the guts.
Although they did let a stormtrooper punch Baby Yoda.
They did, which was very funny, which was great.
I thought it was like the best comeuppance ever when he got his arm just absolutely destroyed.
I still can't believe they did that scene and they spent 30 seconds with stormtroopers trying to hit a target and just kept missing. Like, I was wondering, is this really happening? And then I learned that episode was directed by Taika Waititi, so I was like, of course this is happening.
And Jon Favreau is involved in the whole project.
Dave Filoni as well. They're just they know what story they want to tell.
Did you watch the Clone Wars TV, the animated?
I did.
Oh gosh, I
watched it. I grew up. I watched it, and then the finale.
The finale killed me.
I was really sad.
Yeah.
I watched it with my dad, who didn't watch the series, but watched the movies. And so Ahsoka is a character that I grew up, and I love Ahsoka. She's so awesome. So just watching that unfold and knowing what's going to happen added to it. Knowing the fact that this is all kind of temporary is... Yeah. Also, Maul has always been my favorite character from Phantom Menace.
His very first appearance.
I have always loved him because he looked so cool and he had a double-bladed lightsaber. That was my reasoning as a kid.
Would you say that Duel of the Fates, him versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, is the best lightsaber fight?
I'd say it's one of the best.
I think it's my favorite.
It's great, and it sets up the trilogy in such a great way with, loss of a father figure and all that. And, Obi-Wan having to step into, the reluctant role. He didn't really want to, train it again.
He was still being trained himself.
Yeah, it's like he said when they arrived on Tatooine. I'm such a nerd. It's like he said when they arrived on Tatooine, man. He said, why do I feel like we picked up another useless life form? To Qui-Gon, and it's that, everything might have turned out a little differently if Qui-Gon survived that.
I'm glad I just rewatched Phantom Menace today, otherwise I would not have remembered that line.
It's this, and that's why I love George Lucas as a filmmaker. Yes, the prequel films weren't the best, and there was a lot of stuff that, was just unnecessary, but, overall, it was his story that he wanted to tell, and he did it.
And the way that he went about it was true to how he wanted to. He wanted to make it for kids, he wanted to make it fun, and he wanted to keep that energy going.
We say 4 kids and fun, and then you get to Revenge of the Sith, and everyone's dying all over the place.
Okay, he made Phantom Menace for kids.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I agree with you. I definitely do. And I think, honestly, Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorite films. It's heartbreaking. It makes you feel something.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to do more Darth Vader right during the Purge. It's just, Vader has so much that just gets me going. I love Vader.
I was so excited in Rogue One during that scene. I don't even have to say the scene, that scene, because even though I liked the prequels, it kind of made me think Vader was kind of a wimp, just a little bit. And then Rogue One came along and they made me afraid of him again. They made him terrifying. Absolutely.
I saw a meme and it was, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. The light at the tunnel for...
The light at the end of the tunnel, Darth Vader. Yeah. Oh my god. That's like how 2020 is looking. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You look over, it's Vader with
the lightsaber. And then it was shot perfectly. It was done so well.
That was such a great sequence that
whole movie,
it's things like that I love.
Great.
Rogue One was a great film. I agree. It was based off this tiny little plot hole in the movie, and they turned it into a really good film.
You don't like my plot holes, critics. Here's the whole movie.
Honestly, that's why I think everything done in the sequels was done on purpose, because in a few years they're going to make a whole bunch of other movies that we're going to pay to see that fixes all the little plot holes. So it's fine.
What did you think of the Solo movie?
All right, I wasn't that big a fan of the Solo movie, to be completely honest. I love the production team behind it. I love Ron Howard. I love Chris Lord or Chris Miller and Phil Lord, or reverse that. I love them. I love them, but I think the main problem was I didn't care. I didn't think it was a story that needed to be told.
It wasn't.
I think it was done because they could. I don't. But of course, when I saw Maul, I was the spoiler alert. When I saw Maul, I got really excited again. I was just like, "Oh, he's back!"
Yeah,
my favorite character.
Him with the robotic legs somehow made Maul cooler.
Made Maul cooler. I mean, when he came back and glow, he had a spider body. Like
he's like General Grievous, but less annoying.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Grievous was cool though. I felt he had some awesome moments.
He did have good moments.
Mostly when he was fighting clones or non-main character Jedi.
Yeah, the Grievous in Clone Wars beats Grievous in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, coughing robot. That was my first impression.
Who is this guy? He looks weird. But and with those kind of movies as well, it all goes back to the story and the themes of it are more important than the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
It's about family, and it's that thing. The same themes are in like musicals and plays. It's if you have the right message, the fluff around it won't really matter.
Yeah, and they've done a good job of not only bringing home like the theme of like family and hope, but also talking about other stuff. Like I think Grievous is talking about maybe trophy hunting. Like that could be a theme that they're talking about.
Oh man, that's all I want out of life. A mini-series. An HBO style mini-series that just follows Grievous looking for lightsabers. That's all I want.
I would have loved if at the end when Luke drops his lightsaber on Cloud City.
Yeah.
Just
a fine addition to my collection.
In the distance.
Hey, if Palpatine can survive, why can't Grievous? Like,
yes.
Nah, he kind of got blown apart.
Or maybe that was George Lucas making fun of all the nerds who collected Star Wars paraphernalia.
Honestly, it probably was, but I loved it so much I don't even care. Like, it was great.
Yeah, it was. And then, Baby Yoda. I want a Baby Yoda stuffed animal.
Oh, I do too.
And
I do too.
Disney hasn't made a good one. I don't think they've actually made a Baby Yoda stuffed animal.
It really surprises me. Knowing Disney, I thought they would have immediately capitalized on this.
Like over that.
Yeah. Like that's what they do.
Yeah, it is what they do. All the Star Wars, the movies were okay in my opinion, but what they've been doing with the shows has just been phenomenal because they've been putting it in charge of. They've been putting people who actually know and care in charge. Dave
Filoni is one of the biggest nerds on the planet, and he is just so great. If you get a chance, they released on Disney Plus the behind the scenes featurette of The Mandalorian, and when he speaks about it, he's just so passionate, and he's just like, "I love George so much." Like he's truly like
he's the kind of person when he sees the final cut, he's gonna be like ooh and on over it, just like all of us.
Yeah, I mean, like he talks about it. Not like it's his to control, but like he's just adding to George's story. Not like it's his story, which is what it is, But that's what it all is. It's all based off these themes that George wanted to focus on.
When the vibra saber, whatever it's called, poked out of the top of the TIE fighter,
I screamed. I literally lost my. Can I say that? I lost my mind, man. Because I watched all the shows, Like I love Star Wars, and I saw the dark saber, and I was like, "That's the Mandalorian saber. Why do you have that? What's happening? Where's Sabine? Where's Ahsoka? Are you guys okay?
Where's
Ezra?
Ahsoka's supposed to be in The next season of
I know.
Mandalorian.
I know. And I'm so excited.
I'm counting. I wonder how they're gonna do her live action.
That's the other thing that I just don't want them to ruin it, because
Yeah.
Ahsoka's so, I just love her so much.
Yeah, like I think they can do it right, but you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
I don't think they put her on unless they could do it well.
Yeah. I mean, something that I really liked, have you seen Lord of the Rings,
I've seen some of them, but not in a while.
So something that, I mean, at least it reminded me of the last shot in Clone Wars that we see of Ahsoka is Ahsoka in a gray hood.
Uh-huh.
And have you seen Rebels?
I have seen Rebels. Loved Rebels.
The last shot, been a spoiler for Rebels, and I guess a spoiler for Clone Wars, Ahsoka didn't die. The last shot of Rebels is Ahsoka in a white hood. And Lord of the Rings explores this with the wizard Gandalf,
Yes.
who is reborn after being Gandalf the Grey, and is reborn more powerful as Gandalf the White. Now, I don't know if that was done on purpose, but if it was,
That's
how
dope.
cool is that?
That is so cool.
Because she's wearing that gray, and then she's wearing the white. She has the staff. She's looking over. She's gonna find Ezra, who I love to bits.
She's basically a space wizard. What are Jedi if not space wizards?
She is. She is smarter than Yoda. There, I said it. Like,
Yeah, I agree with you. Is she gonna train Baby Yoda?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I genuinely do. I think so.
I can't wait to see Baby Yoda like flipping about lightsaber.
But I don't think she's gonna train him as a Jedi. I think
Jedi.
Yeah. I don't know what the word they're gonna use for it is, because I remember Grey Jedi was used in what's now considered Legends, which I think is stupid. All those stories were so good.
Yeah, but I think Disney they like to be clear. They like to.
I know.
Then they want to be able to do all the like future plans and be able to fill in all the plot holes themselves.
I still would have liked to see Luke's kid, like a young Anakin Skywalker, turn to the dark side and be sacrificed for, like, I don't know, some weird plan that a new Palpatine had.
The using Kong coming in and killing all the Jedi.
When I went to see Last Jedi, I was very excited because I grew up with those stories of the Legends, so I was like, Mara Jade, Luke's wife, where is she? And she just doesn't exist anymore, which is sad because I think Luke could have used some happiness.
Yeah, Luke
deserved his own Padme.
Yeah, well, yeah. did George? I don't think George Lucas knew.
No. That's the other thing to keep in mind, is that they're made in a weird order, so some things have to be attributed to, well, that wasn't around then.
If you had kids or you had a new friend, never seen a single thing of Star Wars ever, what order do you show?
I've thought about this so much in my life. I genuinely have. And I do release order, I think. Whenever I watch the films, I do it in chronological order. But I think, release order has something else to it, because it shows the main thing about that film, the first one, is the fact that it took filmmaking to another level. It took it did things that people didn't really know could be done in film. And that's why it was such a big deal. Suddenly you're going to the theater and you were seeing these space battles, you're seeing all these other planets, all this stuff that had never really been done before. And it's now in front of you in live action, that only continued with the theme of pushing the technology as far as it can go. And that's another thing I just love about the filmmaking of it. It's just the use of miniatures and the use of scale to create those battles.
Yeah, I miss some of like the more miniature intensive stuff. Like, I think there's definitely too much CGI.
Yeah. I did like, though, when I went to see the sequel, I did like that I could notice that some of it was puppets and a lot of it was practical effects. But then, of course, there was a ton of CGI as well. Like,
the practical, when you see a practical effect that's like a little out there, like a truck flipping and exploding, you're like, is that a practical effect? That's a practical effect.
That's how I watch these movies. I watch them and I'm like, oh, hey, nice, way to go. Well done, well executed. It annoys my friends, but I like it.
That would be a fun job, being someone who works just doing the practical effects explosions.
Yeah. It's nuts.
It is. And then we're gonna get a million movies about quarantine.
Oh my
Like
god.
I
No.
I already
I know you're right, but oh,
and people are gonna be like, it's so good, you have to watch it. We
if I've
live
learned anything, the only quarantine film that's actually worth watching because it's just so brilliantly made and the acting is wonderful. Brie Larson in The Room that's a great film. It's very dark. I don't know if I should be recommending it, but it's very very good. Um, but other than that, if I've learned one thing about being in quarantine is that it's not that exciting. It's really not.
no. You're gonna need a lot of fluff in a movie like that.
A lot of fluff, a lot of quips. Come on, Disney, a lot of quips.
Just pumping them out.
The quips.
They're taking, they're like crowdsourcing. Send us your quips.
Literally though. But I really like how we ended up talking about Star Wars. That made me very happy.
I mean, the theme of the podcast is like entertainment, so Star Wars
Wonderful.
is entertaining.
Well, the thing about Mandalorian that was really cool, and that might be being used for future now in a post coronavirus world. They used virtual sets. They had whenever you saw the ship flying, it was a virtual star background. So they were sitting in kind of a like think an observatory, sitting in the middle of it with all that around them. And that was the set for a few of those sequences, which is so cool to think about. It's the evolution of the technology.
I love when a good movie has great production value, because then it can just be so... Like, that's what made the sequels really good for me, or at least good. Like, when she... What was the Admiral's name? The Holdo.
Oh, Holdo. Oh, I love Holdo.
When she did the hyperspace through that.
That's great.
It was just beautiful.
That's just like pure greatness. That's pure Star Wars greatness.
But you can't get that if you have a film school budget of $20 and your mom.
You can't. But also there are people who will find a way to make you feel that exact same thing with like a cardboard ship, like doing that. I've seen like those low budget films that honestly have not the same impact, but they have really strong impact just because they have such a strong voice.
Yeah.
And a sense of where they want the story to go.
That requires just so much talent in the writing, the acting, the directing.
It's insane. Like for my acting final, I've been working with people who aren't there. Tennis balls I've been using for eye levels, and just the goal of this project is basically my final is about working with CG creatures, and I feel so funny when I do it in quarantine because I'm just here and I'm in a small space and my dad's over there and I'm talking to a tennis ball like it's a giant monster, and like I'm just like this little and I'm doing it. I'm being very loud. I'm being, very into it. I'm like, I'm about to die. And I'm just like in a house.
How long till you mentally transition where it's not even for the acting class? You're just talking to the tennis balls. They're like your new imaginary friend. And
I'm pretty sure we've already reached that point. It's been like 2.5 months. I'm pretty sure we're there.
Are you even?
I'll bring the tennis ball out during Magic and Chilling. That'll be the feelings ball. We'll see what'll happen.
Anyone that has a tennis ball can share their feelings.
And we throw.
Just whip it at your screen.
I have no idea how that's going to work. Oh, it's going to be so funny. I'm just very nervous because I think Robson's going to be on as well. And like Beth is going to be there and Ron. And I'm almost positive they've never been to one of our classes, so they do not know what to expect.
The point is not to expect anything.
Exactly. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah. The Harry Potter ones were good last year.
Oh,
those were fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Although when I went to Orlando, I got a cloak. Doesn't fit me anymore.
Oh no, that's heartbreaking. I when I went, I remember being so excited about getting wands, just like the wands. I have no idea where they are. We've moved so many times that I just, and now that I'm living at school, it's all my old stuff.
On Pottermore, I got what my wand is supposed to be. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was supposed to be like 12 inches, whatever wood, and with whatever center. And I was like, can I get this? And I found a website. It's this dude who lives in the middle of the woods.
that's very cool.
It was like $40, but for Christmas I got my wand. There's not a.
I think that's awesome. That's awesome.
I got it out of the box. I was in my room for a week, like jinxing imaginary Dementors.
That's so cool, man. No, I went through a Harry Potter phase like at the beginning of quarantine where I was like, I'm gonna watch them all, I'm gonna read them all. And it got to me, and I was like holding pencils as I was doing my schoolwork, and I was just casting spells randomly.
Yeah, there's a.
But I also do the same thing like with the Force. Like whenever I'm really lazy, I'll just try it. You never know. Like I really want an orange. Like I'll try.
Oh, my
Never
brain.
works. Never works.
If it just worked once,
That's it. That's all I want.
I'm a mind freak. Or like if you have a dog and it just goes up to you and says "sup," never talks again.
That would scare the shit out of me. That would terrify me to my core. It'd be awesome, but if it said it in that voice, just like sup, like after.
Speaking of Harry Potter, and this is pretty relevant to quarantine, there's a theory that Harry Potter never actually left the cupboard, and Hogwarts and all of this was just him coping.
I love theories like that because it's theories like that that lead to different stories. Because, like, it's what if this was this, right? And then that will one day someone's going to write a story or a book or a movie about a similar kind of instance. And that's what I love about these fan theories. A lot of people don't like looking at fan theories. I love it because it's just like they're new stories.
Oh yeah, they're
like even if it's not true, even if it's not like canon, it's still it's a jumping off point for other stories to be told. And I've read that one about Harry Potter, and I always think it's so cool because it changes everything, and it makes it darker and more. It makes it obviously it plants it in reality more. But it makes it a lot darker, and the reality of the situation is, imagine if you've been like treated that way your entire life and you only have this small space. Like,
yeah, you make it your own world. I'm sure there are some people that are.
Harry Potter was the master of quarantine.
Master of quarantine. He's off having fun, drinking butterbeer. Orlando did butterbeer right.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I should do this summer.
I made butterbeer.
I'll team up with Creative Cooking and we'll do a butterbeer thing. I still can't believe. Do you know the origin of how I got Harry Potter Week started?
No.
So in 2016, when I was a counselor for the first time, me and my friend Jared, we were in a meeting with Magic Larry and like the rest of the staff. And Larry's like, what minors do you want to teach? And me, I just like making jokes. So I was like, well, we're a magic department, right? Why don't we do Quidditch? As a joke.
Wait, 2016?
Yeah.
That was the year I brought my quaffle.
No way, wait, really?
Yes.
Oh my god, wait, did we use it? No, we didn't.
We did.
We did?
Yes.
Oh my god. Oh my god, wait, yes. Oh my gosh. No, and it started like that, and I just said, can we do Quidditch? And Larry said, you know what? Why not? And Eric got really upset about it at first. Just because, Eric's like an amazing magician. And I was like, I'm going to teach Quidditch. So we did it, and then I made an announcement in the dining hall saying, all right, guys, can you please bring, you're going to need to supply your own brooms. And then I got yelled at. I didn't get yelled at, but I got a stern talking to saying, we don't know where these brooms are anymore. We've lost like 100 brooms.
You can completely expect kids to bring the brooms to Quidditch. You cannot expect them to bring it back.
And I should have thought of that in retrospect, but I didn't. So just going through that is very, very funny.
Yeah.
And then it started because I told, Nick knew about how we did that. Then we started talking, and Nick said, well, what if we did more? And I was like, ooh, do tell.
What if?
So we started doing this. And, a lot of my classes, I mainly do like a lot of improv stuff and a lot of performance. So when we did Defense Against the Dark Arts, and we just ran around camp annoying people, I guess.
Yes. I have 2 memories of you with that. Running around, and you tied me up in a straitjacket and brought me around camp. And people are just like, should we help?
My favorite thing is when we have visitors who are coming to camp. And they just see me blasting my music and like taking people all over the place in straitjackets and teaching them how to get out there. Like, what is this?
And as much as it's wild, that's a perfect representation of French Woods.
It is.
Like, that's normal. It's such a great place to learn. And
it really is.
Like, my magic just gets better there.
Mine too. And all the staff as well. Because we teach each other. And, sometimes we get staff members who only know like a bit about one thing in magic. And by the end, they know. Now, I don't claim to be a good magician. I really don't. But I do know what I'm doing, and I can teach it. But I don't claim, like, I admire Nick so much. Nick is one of my, he's one of my idols. I idolize the guy. He's so talented, and he's so nice, and I'm not going to blow smoke up his ass anymore, but I love him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's so nice.
Yeah. He has such a big heart, and he's so talented.
Yeah. The magic is also great because no one's ever going to say, oh, no, I don't want to see a magic trick.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see a magic trick?
Yeah.
Even if it's a bad magic trick, who doesn't want to see a magic trick?
Yeah. See what they did with it. You know the trick? Ooh, why'd you decide to use those words?
Whenever somebody shows me a trick I know, I do one of 2 things. I either do that and I help, or my favorite thing is just to act completely bewildered. Like, literally, I just, like, lose my... oh my God! Like, it's just, I go insane. It's
good acting practice.
Yeah, I've done it twice, and it freaks people out because the reaction does not match the trick. It's not at all.
Getting a good reaction is... I almost lost my composure one time. I was doing... Magic Lair does it every year, the silken egg. And I was doing it for a guy who might have been a little... we were at a resort, so he might have been a little drink.
Hey, what's a magician's best friend?
Yeah. And I showed the egg, and I showed how it was done. He was like, there's a reason he's telling us this. There's a reason he's telling us this. And then when I cracked the egg, he's like, I told you there was a reason.
That kind of stuff is great. And it was really weird being without Larry this summer.
Yeah. I saw him the day before he left. He just seemed so sad.
He loves French Woods. Well, sorry. I love him. He like helped me grow up. He's like a father figure to me. I remember like before I went to college, he like sat me down and he like helped me, like gave me like a talk about like leaving, and because I was sad it was going to be my last summer at French Woods for a while. But he's the best.
Yeah. I've been emailing with him, and he's going to be on. I'll make him. Don't know when. I think Friday. I'm going to have him on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's great.
I'm excited about that. Pick his brain about magic.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. This is awesome.
No problem. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Talking about Star Wars and theater and stuff. Of course.
I love doing this. Like, even if no one's watching, like, who cares? This is fun.
Yeah, it's great, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you later, man.